Okay, so this is continuing my doing a design in KiCAD tutorial. So we've got to a point where we've got our schematic already made. That's here. We've transferred that and connected each of these items to its module, and we have created a circuit board, and we've put some tracks between everything, and it's all looking quite good. There's a few things to do still. Firstly, the PCB is way too big. We don't need it this big, so I'm going to change that. Also, I've noticed that the holes in this component here, potentiometer, are far too small. This has not been designed correctly, so I'm going to change that. So then I'm also going to sort out the silk screen and do a copper fill for the back of it and the front of it. Maybe add some writing to it. So the first thing we want to do is to change this PCB size. So this was the Dangerous Prototypes 50 by 50 sick of beige prototyping box specifications. But 50 by 50 is way too big. We can probably get away with 50 by 25, which will mean I can get two boards on a 5 by 5 PCB, which is what I'll get done from the supplier. So what we need to do here is we actually don't want this component here. We want to put down another component, and I'm going to list them all. I'm going to go to Dangerous Prototype Devices. What have they got? I would say we want a rectangle, which is probably the golden cut. So this is a 50 by 31. And then we're going to delete this other PCB. So I did that by pressing delete on the keyboard, and I'm moving that just to get it in the way. I'm going to save this. So I'm going to re-annotate the schematic, because we saw here it says PCB question mark. That means that's not been annotated. So we're going to annotate this PCB schematic, sorry, and that's okay. And now that is actually PCB1. We're going to create a new netlist file. And we're also going to run the CVPCB, which combines the various things. So now this PCB is linked to the wrong module. It says DP 50 by 50. We don't want that one. We want the 31 by 50. So let's go down and let's look at Dangerous Prototypes. They're all under DP. And we want the board rectangle. There we go, DP 5031. We can have a look at that if we want by looking at it here on this. So that's 50 millimeters by 31. So that should easily be enough. Then I'm going to save that, and I'm going to close it. And then I'm going to return to my PCB package, and at the moment, and then we read the netlist again, and we change the modules, and we can see there that the size of this PCB changed. So now we have, this is the sicker beige PCB size, and actually because of the shape it is, I'm going to redo the PCB a little bit, so that we can fit in all the components that we want in a nicer format. So I'm going to pause while I redo that, and I'll show you again a bit more. So I've just rearranged these components to give me a little bit more space and to fit onto this circuit board a bit better. So now next thing to do is edit this component here. This is for a variable resistor. So what we do is we right click and we click on the footprint that we want to adjust, so footprint there. We then go to edit with mod edit, and we go into the program module editor, and we can see here is our component. What I want to do first is select my active library, which means select the library that I'm going to be doing my changes in. And I'm going to be doing this into my own little component library because I know that's where I want to store it. So I click on OK, and then I can also save this. And I'm going to save it as the same name. because I want to update this. Now the problem was that the holes in the pad were not big enough, so if I right click on that pad and then do edit pad, we can see that all the dimensions are in inches, which is really horrible. So I'm going to cancel out of this, and I'm going to change over here from inches to millimeters. I'm then going to right click again on edit pad, and there we go, we've got it in millimeters. So the drill hole here is 0.508 millimeters. Now I know that on my standard little variable resistors, these thick guys are more than a millimeter wide, so I'd say a millimeter will do it. A millimeter will do it, I think. Yeah, let's use a millimeter. So I've decided that I want a 1 millimeter hole, not a 0.508, so I'm going to put 1 millimeter in there. And I can click somewhere else. And that should give us a 1 millimeter hole. So I'm going to click OK there. I'm then going to repeat the same process by clicking on the next pad and going New Pad Settings. Clicking on this one and saying New Pad Settings. Clicking on this one and saying New Pad Settings. So now if I edit that pad, you can see there's a 1 millimeter hole in all of it. So that's all I wanted to do with that component. I'm now going to save the module in the active library, which was Matt's components, and the active library is also shown up here. So I'm going to save it as the same, and I'm also going to update the module in the current board. So at the moment the PCB thinks it looks like the old module. So what I'm going to do is click on this button, which it moves everything that we've done on that on this component onto the actual circuit board. If you don't do this, it will still look like it looked before. So I'm going to click that button. Didn't really do anything. I'm then going to close this, and what we should see is you can see that these are much larger now, and this is correct for what we want. So that's quite cool. So next thing is to sort out where all these references and numbers go. In order to do that, I make liberal use of using the M command, which is to move. So I actually want to move that reference. So let's move. I don't want this tiny writing in here because that will you won't be able to see that. So I'm going to move it, and I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to put it just above. I'm actually going to change the grid so I've got a bit more control over it. So grid will allow me to have finer control. So I'm going to change that to 5. I'm going to change the reference. I'm going to rotate it. I also want to change these text so that the text goes here. So I know which one is positive and negative. We can also do the power. And I'm going to basically do that for everything, and I'll come back in a second showing you all of that. So I spent a bit of time just moving all these references around so they fit within our PCB area. This big thick line just shows the kind of clearance area that you need to have, so that it will fit into the Dangerous Prototypes case. It's not particularly necessary, especially if you're not going to use their case. But I'm following their recommendations. You can see that I've got some of the text covers that line, so we're going to have to deal with that in a second. The next thing I want to do is put a little bit of text on it, so I'd like to put some text on the front silk screen. So what I'm going to do is first of all change the layer I'm on to front silk screen. So change to front silk screen, then I'm going to click text, and I'm going to click text, and you can see here that the layer it's going to be on is the front silk screen, and I'm going to write LM386 amplifier Fire, I'm going to spell it right as well. So that's what I want to call it. Cool, I know. I'm actually going to edit that, so I right click on it and then you can go to edit, and I'm actually not going to, I'm going to have that as 2 rows, and I'm going to move that so that it fits here. I also want to just put some text on to say who made this, so I'm going to put a bit more text, and I'm going to put Reinnovation UK, and if we're lucky, so that will fit about there, but it's going to clash here with the 10 microfarad, so I'm going to move that down to here probably. Yeah, that'll be good. So it's nearly done. I'm also going to put some text just on the back, so I'm actually going to put it on the back copper, and I'm actually going to put the this name again, and you can see this time actually it's not come out right. See, this time it's green. Actually it's not the right way around. What I want it to do, if it's going to be on the back, it needs to be mirrored, because the back is obviously would be seen from the other side, so we have to make sure all the text is mirrored on that particular side. So I'm going to move that, and I'm going to put that right at the bottom on this, just there. In fact, that means people can see that through the copper resist. Right, so that is messing around with some with the module editor, adding some text. Happy with this. Next thing I'm going to show you in the next video is how to add an edge and how to do a fill with a copper fill. Okie doke.